Hey, thank you for joining me for another Tashaka Explains It All. We all have a backstory. I'm not going to go into some laborious villain backstory, like my alter ego villain McBeardface. You may have seen him on a Chevy Impala video around this YouTube channel somewhere. I'm a professional editor, or at least that's one of the things I do outside of YouTube videos, and I've been doing it for some time. And this will kind of go into today's video on why I'm telling you this. These are some of the early awards I won. These are golden mics. I've got an Emmy around here somewhere. This is something I've recently won. This is a Telly Award. This was, I helped a colleague build a post-production facility for her company so that she could service clients. And one of the things we recently won was an award for a piece that a brilliant editor by the name of Noah Harold did for Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish's Night School. And I kind of oversee post-production and making sure everything runs smooth, the equipment runs well, and that everything is doing what it should. So that's my background. That's kind of where I come from and why I was jazzed and geeked about today's package. Let me just move those out the way. So this came in the mail, compliments of Apple. Can you guess what this may be? Well, if you guessed, oh man, this tape is really on here. If you guessed that it might be a MacBook Pro, you'd be right. And if you guessed that it might be the new 16-inch MacBook Pro, you'd be right again. So I was really wanting to try this out because I'm editing in 4K. I'm not as lucky as some of the folks out there who's doing his own stuff in 8K yet. And, but I'm working in 4K and I've been a Mac editor for some time. I'm going to pull these out real quick. Here's my 15-inch mid-2015 MacBook Pro before the butterfly keys. And here was my first MacBook Pro. This is the Behemoth 17-inch MacBook Pro. So when I first switched from PC to Mac, this was the first Mac I purchased because I was going to do editing. I knew I wanted to do some editing. So this is the fully spec'd 17-inch MacBook Pro. And when they announced this 16-inch MacBook Pro, I really wanted to give it a run for its money, put it through its paces, and see if it could stand up to the workload that I'm looking at in terms of creating these YouTube videos and in terms of working on the little personal projects that I'm working on, documentaries, things like that. So they were kind enough to send me a review unit so I could put it through its paces and tell you what I think about it. Now, if you've been following this, you've probably seen the videos and you know that Apple apparently really listened to people and they changed the keyboard from the butterfly keys to the scissor keys. And wow, this is pretty light. This is nice. This is the Space Gray 2.4 gigahertz. 64 gigabytes of RAM with the Radeon 5500M with 8 gigabytes of RAM on the video card. So that's the version we have here. Let's get the charger out. So there's everything you have inside the box other than obviously the manuals, but you've got the cable, you've got the charging brick. It's covered up. Let's rip this off here. There we go. This is the 96 watt USB-C power adapter. Here's the USB-C cable that comes with it. And just to give you an idea, so this is supposed to be my powerhouse. This is going to be what I'm looking at for being mobile and being able to edit on the go. And this is going to replace, now I did carry this. When I went to CES, when I traveled to conventions, editing on the road, this is what I used. I'm not a small guy, so it wasn't a huge deal to carry it around, but it was heavy. So this is 16 inches. This is 15 inches. And on the bottom we have 17 inches. So you can kind of see the evolution, see where it's come from with the various Macs. Now, as you can see, obviously it's much smaller than the 17-inch MacBook Pro, but it's pretty close in size comparatively to the 2015 MacBook Pro. It's slightly thinner than the 2015 MacBook Pro. Not much, slightly. And the color is definitely really nice, this space gray. You can see there the difference in colors. But let's also, because this is 16 and it's, you would think somewhere between the 15 and the 17, it would kind of be somewhere between there, but it really isn't. Like I just showed you, it really is about the same size as that mid-2015 laptop, that mid-2015 MacBook Pro. But look how thin it is compared to the 17-inch. And it's just amazing to me how fast technology gets that. This laptop much thinner than the 17-inch and much, much more powerful than the 17-inch. So let's turn this on and see what it looks like. Remove the cloth there. And here we go. Nice. First boot was fast. I'm going to boot this up. I'm going to sign into it, and we'll be right back.
Press the return key.
So I've signed in, downloaded Final Cut Pro 10, and I'm going through a Final Cut Pro project that was done in 4K. And wow, it definitely, for my 2015 MacBook Pro, which again fully spec, stutters ever so slightly when playing from an external hard drive. This is an external hard drive, not a solid state drive, but it is an external rated at USB 3.0 and connected via USB-C. So playing content directly from this drive, again on my 2015 MacBook Pro, gives me some stuttering here or there. On this 16-inch MacBook Pro, the bus speeds, definitely I'm seeing increase. I'm definitely seeing initially some better playthrough, some better throughput. So definitely if I'm going to have to run and gun, grab some footage and work with it from an external, specifically one that is not an SSD, then that is definitely good news. The better news on this, though, is this model is the 4 terabyte model. So for people who are shooting high resolution video, 4K, 8K, you can go up to 8 terabytes, and you'll be able to take the footage and move it directly onto the laptop and work from it there. And if you work with it from there, you shouldn't see any lag or stutter issues when working from and playing directly from that 4 terabyte or that 8 terabyte hard drive. When people buy laptops, one of the things I always recommend is to buy the most laptop you can afford at that time, and specifically buy the most storage you can afford. And even more specifically, when we're talking for editing, photo editing, video editing purposes, buy the most storage you can afford at that time. So great that you can get the 8 terabytes. It does also come with 1, so you can get smaller increments, but definitely great that you can get the 4 and 8 terabyte SSDs on these 16-inch MacBook Pros. So I'm going to be putting this through its paces, working with video, editing video, motion graphics, doing some of those things. Then I'm going to hit you with my review, an editor's, a content creator's review of this product shortly, in a little while, after I've used it for probably a couple weeks there, really firing it up and doing hours worth of editing. Because one of the things that I definitely want to take a look at is how it handles heat. One of the things that you find with editing is that when you have a larger computer, it dissipates heat better, so you don't have as many issues when you're doing those long 6, 8, 10, 12-hour edit sessions. Whereas when you're working with something this thin, you're going to run into some heat-related throttling or some heat-related issues simply by the nature of how compact the product is. And there's a trade-off. You know, you do have a trade-off when you are going to get something that's mobile that you can work with in the field versus a larger tower type like the Mac Pro that's coming that is going to primarily be in one location. So that is your trade-off, is how it handles heat over long stretches of high resolution hardcore editing. So again, that's what I'll be looking at for me, sitting down on my edit days and taking hours and working through footage and pieces and seeing just how well this keeps up with being hammered for, you know, hours, and how it handles the heat dissipation and if there's any throttling. So keep watching, hit that like button, ask any questions you have in the comments section. I'll get to them, and subscribe so that you can get the notification when I put out the video telling you what I thought about this laptop for hardcore editing. As always, I don't take it for granted that you're watching. I thank you, and check me out on the next video.